In the shimmering expanse of the Andromeda Galaxy, where stars danced like diamonds scattered across an eternal canvas, lay the celestial kingdom of Zentera, a realm of crystalline spires and floating gardens, where gravity itself seemed to bend in reverence to the ethereal beauty of its inhabitants. Among these otherworldly beings, none shone brighter than Princess Lyriel, whose iridescent skin refracted light into 1,000 colors, creating an aura that could make even the most ancient stars weep with envy. The Zenterans were a proud race, their civilization spanning millennia of artistic achievement and scientific discovery. They had mastered interdimensional travel when Earth's primates were still swinging from trees, and their cultural sophistication was unparalleled in known space. Yet, beneath this veneer of cosmic elegance lay rigid traditions and unforgiving protocols that governed every aspect of their existence. The royal family, particularly, was expected to embody perfection, a standard that left little room for individual desires or emotional expression. Princess Lyriel, despite her divine appearance, harbored a rebellious spirit that clashed with these societal expectations. Her eyes, capable of shifting through the entire spectrum of visible light, often betrayed her restlessness during the endless court ceremonies. While other nobles engaged in delicate political maneuverings and maintained their immaculate facades, Lyriel found herself drawn to forbidden knowledge, Earth's primitive yet passionate art forms, particularly their music and literature. She would secretly project holographic representations of human operas in her private chambers, captivated by the raw emotions that seemed so foreign yet compelling to her structured existence. One fateful evening, during the Grand Celestial Convergence, a diplomatic gathering of representatives from various star systems, Lyriel's fascination with human culture reached its breaking point. As dignitaries exchanged carefully measured pleasantries, she slipped away from the formal proceedings to explore the restricted archives. There, amidst ancient star charts and forgotten treaties, she discovered a collection of human poetry that spoke of love, loss, and longing with such unbridled intensity that it made her luminous form tremble with unfamiliar sensations. Unbeknownst to her, the High Council censors detected this unauthorized access. In their eyes, her actions represented not just a breach of protocol but a threat to the very fabric of Zenteran society. For centuries, they had maintained their superiority by avoiding contamination from what they considered primitive cultures. Lyriel's interest in human expressions threatened to unravel this carefully constructed order. When confronted by the council, her defense, that these works revealed truths about emotion and connection that transcended technological advancement, only sealed her fate. The punishment decreed by the council was unprecedented: exile to Earth in human form, bound to one of their males through an ancient ritual of forced union. This decision carried multiple layers of humiliation: for a being of pure energy to be confined to flesh, for a princess to be subjected to human customs, and perhaps most devastatingly, to experience the limitations of human mortality. The transformation process would strip her of her natural radiance, leaving her with only subtle traces of her true nature, while the marriage arrangement would serve as both penance and lesson in the consequences of defying cosmic order. As the sentence was pronounced, Lyriel stood tall, her multicolored aura dimming to a pale glow. Within her core, a storm of emotions swirled: shame, defiance, curiosity, and an unexpected spark of anticipation. The council members watched with satisfaction, believing they had successfully quashed any further rebellion. What they failed to realize was that their punishment might unleash forces beyond their control, for in sending their most brilliant daughter to Earth, they were sowing seeds of change that neither world could have anticipated. The transition from Zenteran royalty to human bride unfolded with brutal efficiency. Within hours of her sentencing, Princess Lyriel found herself standing before the transformation chamber, a sleek apparatus that pulsed with ominous blue light. The procedure stripped away her radiant essence, compressing her multidimensional being into fragile human form. As the metamorphosis completed, she caught her reflection in the chamber's surface, a striking woman with flowing silver hair and eyes that retained faint traces of their spectral quality, now encased in soft violet irises. Her destination awaited on Earth's western coast, in San Francisco's bustling metropolis. The council had chosen Michael Chen, a 32-year-old software engineer, as her designated husband. His selection criteria remained mysterious to Lyriel, perhaps his stable income, lack of criminal record, or simply his availability, but she recognized the cruel irony in pairing a galactic princess with someone so utterly ordinary. The legal documents had been prepared with military precision, complete with forged identity papers and a fabricated backstory that cast her as a distant relative of a wealthy tech mogul. Michael first encountered his future wife in the sterile conference room of City Hall, where their marriage ceremony would take place. He stared at her with a mixture of awe and confusion, clearly struggling to process the surreal situation. The officiant, briefed by council operatives, maintained a brisk pace through the proceedings, allowing no time for questions or reflection. As they exchanged vows, Lyriel felt the weight of her new reality pressing down upon her, the binding words sealing her fate more thoroughly than any cosmic decree. Their apartment, located in a high-rise overlooking the bay, had been meticulously staged to maintain the illusion of normalcy. Modern furniture filled the space, while holographic windows displayed breathtaking views of Earth's oceans and skies. Yet nothing could mask the fundamental strangeness of her situation. The air smelled different here, heavy with moisture and organic compounds. Sounds carried differently too, muffled by atmosphere rather than resonating through energy fields. Most disconcerting was the constant pull of gravity, anchoring her movements in ways that felt both restrictive and strangely grounding. The initial days passed in tense silence, punctuated by awkward attempts at conversation. Michael tried to bridge the gap between them with polite inquiries about her preferences and gentle explanations of Earth customs. Lyriel responded with calculated neutrality, careful to maintain the facade while processing the overwhelming sensory input of her new environment. She discovered that human food, while lacking the refined energy of Zentaran sustenance, possessed intriguing textures and flavors. The morning sunlight streaming through the windows created patterns that reminded her of home, though filtered through Earth's atmosphere, they appeared softer, warmer. Yet beneath this veneer of adaptation lurked a growing awareness of her physical form's vulnerabilities. Simple tasks like walking upstairs or carrying grocery bags required conscious effort, and she found herself startled by the limitations of her human body. Sleep proved particularly challenging. Not just the act itself, but the realization that her consciousness could be completely extinguished for hours at a time. These experiences, however, paled compared to the emotional turmoil of sharing intimate space with a stranger who had been thrust into the role of husband. At night, lying beside Michael in their king-sized bed, Lyriel grappled with conflicting impulses. The council's intention was clear, to force her into submission through this most basic of human arrangements. Yet as she observed Michael's quiet respect for her boundaries and his genuine attempts to make her comfortable, she began to recognize something unexpected in his behavior. There was no triumph in his eyes, no sense of conquest over his otherworldly bride. Instead, she detected a shared unease, a mutual recognition of their imposed circumstances that hinted at possibilities neither of them had anticipated. As weeks turned into months, the initial tension between Lyriel and Michael evolved into a complex dance of proximity and discovery. Their shared living space became a laboratory of sorts, where each interaction revealed new facets of their fundamentally different natures. Michael, raised in Silicon Valley's tech-centric culture, approached their relationship with methodical curiosity, documenting their progress in a private journal. He noticed how Lyriel's eyes would flicker with subtle hues when she experienced strong emotions, and how her movements sometimes betrayed an unconscious grace that seemed to defy physics. For her part, Lyriel found herself increasingly fascinated by Michael's humanity. During their late-night conversations, she learned about his childhood spent building computers in his parents' garage, his passion for environmental sustainability, and his secret love for classical music, a revelation that bridged their worlds in unexpected ways. When he played recordings of Beethoven's symphonies, she recognized echoes of the human operas that had first drawn her to Earth's culture. These shared moments created a foundation of understanding that neither had anticipated when their forced union began. The council's punishment, intended to break her spirit, instead opened doors to experiences previously unimaginable in Zentaran society. Human emotions, once viewed as chaotic and primitive, revealed themselves to Lyriel as intricate tapestries of feeling. She marveled at how Michael's laughter could transform his entire demeanor, or how his focused concentration while coding created an aura of quiet intensity around him. These observations sparked within her a desire to understand not just humans, but the very nature of emotional connection itself. Their physical relationship developed gradually, marked by tentative explorations and surprising revelations. During their first intimate encounter, Lyriel experienced sensations that defied her previous understanding of pleasure. The warmth of human touch, the rhythm of synchronized breathing, and the chemical symphony of endorphins created an experience that resonated with her transformed biology in unexpected ways. Each subsequent encounter deepened her appreciation for the complexity of human intimacy, where physical pleasure intertwined with emotional vulnerability in ways that challenged her preconceived notions of romantic connection. Michael's approach to their physical relationship reflected his character: gentle, respectful, and genuinely interested in her pleasure. He took time to understand her responses, learning which touches elicited the most intense reactions and which rhythms aligned with her natural inclinations. To Lyriel's surprise, she found herself reciprocating with an enthusiasm that shocked even her. The freedom to explore physical intimacy without the rigid protocols of Zentaran courtship allowed her to discover aspects of her own nature that had been suppressed by her royal upbringing. These experiences led to profound realizations about the nature of pleasure itself. In Zentaran society, physical connection had been a carefully controlled exchange of energy, devoid of the raw emotional context that characterized human relationships. Through her encounters with Michael, Lyriel understood that Earth's concept of pleasure extended far beyond mere physical sensation. It encompassed trust, vulnerability, and the willingness to share one's authentic self. This revelation challenged everything she had been taught about appropriate behavior for a princess, forcing her to confront the limitations of her former existence. The transformation in their relationship manifested in subtle ways throughout their daily lives. Morning routines became opportunities for casual affection, while evenings often featured shared meals accompanied by discussions that ranged from Earth's political landscape to the philosophical implications of artificial intelligence. Michael introduced Lyriel to the concept of date nights, where they explored San Francisco's diverse neighborhoods, sampling exotic foods and attending cultural events. These experiences helped her integrate into human society while simultaneously expanding her understanding of emotional connection. Perhaps most significantly, their evolving relationship began to affect Lyriel's perception of herself. The rigid boundaries between her royal identity and her current circumstances started to blur, creating space for personal growth that had been impossible within the confines of Zentaran tradition. She found herself laughing more freely, expressing opinions without calculating their political impact, and engaging with the world around her with a curiosity that felt both liberating and terrifying. This transformation wasn't without its challenges. Moments of homesickness and doubt still surfaced, but each new experience added another layer to her developing humanity. Through it all, Michael remained a steady presence, his initial awkwardness giving way to genuine affection and admiration. He recognized that their relationship, born from coercion, had evolved into something far more complex and meaningful. Their shared journey of discovery created bonds that transcended their imposed circumstances, hinting at possibilities that neither had dared to imagine when their paths first crossed. The Council's punishment, designed to teach Lyriel a lesson in humility, had instead become a catalyst for personal evolution and emotional awakening. Despite the growing intimacy between them, shadows of their arranged circumstances loomed large over their relationship. Lyriel wrestled with the cognitive dissonance of finding joy in a situation meant to punish her. Each tender moment with Michael triggered conflicting emotions, gratitude for his kindness battling against resentment toward the Council's manipulation. She often found herself staring at her reflection, searching for remnants of her former self in her human features, wondering if she was betraying her heritage by embracing the life forced upon her. Michael, too, carried his own burdens of guilt and inadequacy. Though he participated willingly in their relationship, he couldn't escape the knowledge that his role as husband had been imposed rather than chosen. Nights spent watching Lyriel sleep, her silver hair spread across the pillow, filled him with both wonder and self-doubt. Was he truly worthy of her, regardless of how their union had begun? Did his growing feelings for her constitute exploitation of her situation or genuine affection? These questions haunted his thoughts, manifesting in restless nights and distracted workdays. Their apartment, while luxurious, began to feel like a gilded cage. The holographic windows, initially fascinating to Lyriel, now served as reminders of her captivity. She would stand before them for hours, tracing constellations in the sky that she could no longer reach. The scent of salt water from the bay below mixed with memories of Zentaran nebulae, creating a bittersweet symphony of longing and acceptance. Michael noticed these moments of melancholy and attempted to draw her back to the present, but each gesture of comfort felt like another thread binding them to their manufactured reality. The Council's influence extended beyond their physical presence on Earth. Regular check-ins from operatives posing as social workers ensured compliance with their arrangement, while encrypted messages delivered to Michael's work account provided subtle threats disguised as helpful advice. Lyriel recognized these tactics for what they were: psychological warfare designed to maintain control over their situation. The knowledge that every moment of happiness they experienced was monitored and potentially weaponized against them created an invisible barrier between their public displays of affection and their private doubts. Most troubling was the gradual realization that their relationship's authenticity was constantly called into question. Friends and colleagues who knew Michael's story congratulated him on his good fortune, their comments laced with assumptions about wealth and status. Liriel endured their curious glances and veiled insults with practiced grace, but each encounter chipped away at her confidence. Were people seeing her as Michael's trophy wife, a beautiful alien artifact collected through mysterious means? Did they believe her affection for him genuine, or merely a performance dictated by their circumstances? These external pressures exacerbated internal conflicts. Liriel found herself questioning whether her growing attachment to Michael stemmed from genuine emotion or Stockholm Syndrome. The line between adaptation and surrender blurred with each passing day. Similarly, Michael struggled with his role as both protector and prisoner-keeper. His efforts to create a safe space for Liriel sometimes felt like extensions of the Council's control, while his attempts to give her freedom risked appearing patronizing or dismissive of her true nature. Their shared moments of vulnerability became battlegrounds for these conflicting emotions. Conversations about their future inevitably circled back to their past, each memory of their forced union casting a shadow over their present happiness. Yet, paradoxically, these very constraints created pockets of genuine connection. Late-night discussions about their fears and hopes, conducted in whispers to avoid detection by hidden surveillance devices, forged bonds that felt more real than anything either had experienced before. The shared knowledge that their relationship existed under constant scrutiny created a peculiar intimacy, one that acknowledged its artificial origins while striving to transcend them. As autumn settled over San Francisco, painting the city in hues of gold and crimson, Liriel found herself drawn to the rooftop garden of their high-rise. Here, surrounded by Earth's flora and bathed in the dying light of each day, she began exploring her newfound capacity for creativity. The Council's punishment, intended to suppress her spirit, had inadvertently unlocked latent talents she never knew she possessed. With materials sourced from local art supply stores, she created abstract pieces that captured the intersection of her Zentran heritage and human experiences. Swirling galaxies rendered in oil paints, digital compositions that mimicked the spectral dance of her native auroras. Michael, witnessing this artistic awakening, encouraged her exploration while grappling with his own professional ambitions. His work in sustainable technology development took on new meaning as he watched Liriel interact with Earth's environment. Together, they conceived projects that merged her understanding of energy dynamics with his technical expertise, creating innovative solutions for renewable power sources. These collaborations, though initially motivated by practical considerations, evolved into profound exchanges of knowledge and perspective that challenged both their preconceptions about innovation and progress. Their shared creative endeavors attracted attention from unexpected quarters. Local galleries began showcasing Liriel's work, interpreting her unique style as cutting-edge contemporary art rather than extraterrestrial expression. Tech conferences invited Michael to present their joint projects, unaware of the true nature of his inspiration. Each success brought them closer to mainstream acceptance while simultaneously increasing the risk of exposure. The Council's operatives monitored these developments closely, their reports highlighting the unintended consequences of their punishment strategy. Within this creative crucible, their relationship transformed once again. Liriel discovered that artistic expression provided an outlet for emotions too complex for verbal communication, while Michael found that collaborating on projects allowed him to connect with her on levels beyond physical intimacy. Their shared studio space became a sanctuary where they could shed their imposed roles and exist purely as co-creators. The act of making something together, whether it was a painting, a software algorithm, or a fusion of both, created a language of understanding that transcended their original circumstances. This period of productivity also illuminated fundamental differences in their approaches to problem-solving and creation. Liriel's Zentran instincts favored holistic, intuitive processes that embraced uncertainty and fluidity, while Michael's human training emphasized linear progression and measurable outcomes. These contrasting methodologies initially caused friction but ultimately led to breakthroughs neither could have achieved alone. Their arguments over artistic direction or technical implementation evolved into dialogues that enriched both their personal growth and their collaborative output. The fruits of their creative partnership began to reshape their understanding of purpose and identity. For Liriel, the act of creation offered a path to reclaiming agency in a situation defined by coercion. Each completed piece represented a choice made freely, a declaration of her evolving selfhood. Michael, observing this transformation, found himself re-evaluating his own relationship with ambition and success. Their shared journey demonstrated that true innovation emerged not from following prescribed paths, but from embracing the unpredictable intersections of different worlds. As winter approached, bringing shorter days and colder winds, their creative momentum showed no signs of slowing. Commission requests poured in for Lyriel's artwork, while venture capitalists expressed interest in their sustainable technology concepts. Yet beneath this surface success lay deeper questions about the nature of their achievements. Were they merely excelling within parameters set by their circumstances, or were they truly forging something new and meaningful? The answer, they realized, lay not in external validation but in the evolving dynamic between them, a bond that continued to grow stronger and more complex with each challenge they faced together. The true extent of the Council's manipulation began to reveal itself through subtle anomalies in their daily lives. Lyriel noticed patterns in seemingly random events, an unexpected power outage that coincided with their most intimate moments, a security camera that always malfunctioned in certain areas of their apartment, and delivery drones that consistently arrived minutes after scheduled times. These occurrences, individually insignificant, formed a mosaic of control when viewed collectively. More disturbing were the microscopic implants discovered in their household items, devices sophisticated enough to monitor not just their actions but their physiological responses to various stimuli. Michael's position at the tech company proved to be more than mere coincidence. His research team had recently received classified funding for projects that paralleled their creative endeavors. The investors showing interest in their sustainable technology concepts all traced back to shell corporations linked to the Council. Even their social circle, cultivated through carefully orchestrated events, consisted largely of individuals with ties to interstellar affairs. The realization that their entire existence on Earth operated within a meticulously constructed framework sent shockwaves through their relationship. The psychological toll of this revelation manifested differently for each of them. Lyriel experienced episodes of dissociation, moments when her human consciousness threatened to fracture under the weight of her dual identities. The Council's presence permeated her dreams, transforming peaceful slumber into battlegrounds where her Zentaran essence fought against her human form. Michael developed stress-related health issues, his body rebelling against the constant pressure of maintaining appearances while protecting Lyriel from harm. Their once vibrant creative partnership began to falter as paranoia crept into their interactions. Yet within this web of manipulation, they identified potential vulnerabilities. The Council's need for plausible deniability created operational gaps they could exploit. Surveillance systems required periodic maintenance, providing brief windows of privacy. Funding approvals followed predictable cycles, allowing them to anticipate periods of increased scrutiny. Most crucially, they discovered that the operatives monitoring them were bound by strict protocols that occasionally conflicted with their objectives, creating opportunities for discreet resistance. Their response to this oppression evolved through cautious experimentation. They began encoding messages within Lyriel's artwork, using her unique artistic style to convey information that appeared abstract to casual observers but contained layered meanings. Their technological projects incorporated hidden algorithms that subtly subverted the Council's intended applications, redirecting resources toward independent networks. These acts of defiance, small and significant, strengthened their resolve while deepening their understanding of each other's strengths and limitations. The emotional landscape of their relationship shifted dramatically under this pressure. Trust, once complicated by their forced union, became an absolute necessity for survival. They developed nonverbal cues to communicate danger, created emergency protocols for potential breaches, and established safe spaces within their shared environment. These preparations, while practical, fostered a level of intimacy that transcended their initial connection. The knowledge that they faced this adversity together transformed their bond from one of convenience to one of genuine partnership. Their resistance efforts also revealed unexpected allies within Earth society. Certain individuals, initially assumed to be part of the Council's network, showed subtle signs of dissent. A gallery owner who consistently misreported Lyriel's sales figures, a co-worker who conveniently lost important memos, a neighbor who always seemed to schedule loud renovations during critical surveillance periods, all contributed to a growing underground support system. These connections, tenuous and risky, expanded their sphere of influence while complicating their understanding of loyalty and betrayal. As spring approached, bringing renewed energy to San Francisco streets, Lyriel and Michael found themselves at a crossroads. The Council's grip on their lives remained firm, but their ability to navigate within its constraints had grown exponentially. Their shared experiences of oppression had forged them into something neither had anticipated, a united front capable of challenging the very foundations of their imposed existence. The question that now loomed before them wasn't whether they could endure their circumstances, but whether they possessed the courage to transform their resistance into outright rebellion. As the city bloomed with spring's promise, Lyriel and Michael made their final decision. Together, they activated a hidden signal embedded in one of her paintings, a beacon designed to reach allies across the stars. The council's operatives descended swiftly, but this time, Lyriel was ready. Her violet eyes shimmered with defiance as she unleashed energy reserves long suppressed within her human form. Michael stood beside her, holding a device they had secretly engineered, a fusion of Zentaran and Earth technology capable of disrupting the council's control network. Alarms blared through the high-rise, but Lyriel's voice rose above the chaos, resonating with newfound strength. "You sought to punish me," she declared, "but you gave me freedom." The room filled with light as their allies, both human and extraterrestrial, emerged from the shadows, answering the call. The council's agents hesitated, unprepared for such unity. For the first time, Lyriel felt not fear, but power, an unshakable bond with Michael and those who believed in their cause. Tears streamed down her face as she turned to him, knowing their journey would never be simple. "Whatever happens next," she whispered, "we face it together." Michael nodded, his hand gripping hers tightly. Outside, dawn broke over San Francisco, casting golden light on two worlds now forever intertwined.